Revelation chapter 2 verses 12 to 13. To the angel of the church in Pergamum write, These are the words of him who has the sharp double-edged sword. I know where you live, where Satan has his throne. Yet you remain true to my name. You did not renounce your faith in me, not even in the days of Antichrist, my faithful witness, who was put to death in your city, where Satan lives. Revelation chapter 13 verses 1 to 3. And the dragon stood on the sand of the seashore. Then I saw a beast coming up out of the sea. And the dragon gave him his power and his throne and great authority. I saw one of his heads as if it had been slain, and his fatal wound was healed. And the whole earth was amazed and followed after the beast. Why did Christ refer to Bergamum, or modern-day Bergama, Turkey, as the place where Satan lives and where his throne is to be found? Could this be also the place where the Antichrist was buried and where he will be resurrected? If so, what is the biblical significance of this place, and what is its historical connection with Satan and the Antichrist? I believe Pergamum was the land of Shinar, where Nimrod constructed the Tower of Babel. Genesis chapter 10 verses 8 to 10. And Cush begot Nimrod. He began to be a mighty one in the earth. He was a mighty hunter before the Lord. Wherefore it is said, even as Nimrod, the mighty hunter before the Lord. And the beginning of his kingdom was Babel, and Erech, and Akkad, and Calneh, in the land of Shinar. Genesis chapter 11 verses 1 to 4. There was a time when the entire earth spoke a common language with an identical vocabulary. As people migrated westward, they came across a plain in the region of Shinar and settled there. They told each other, Come on, let's burn bricks thoroughly. They used bricks for stone and tar for mortar. Then they said, Come on, let's build ourselves a city and a tower with its summit in the heavens, and let's make a name for ourselves, so we won't be scattered over the surface of the whole earth. Many people associate ancient Babylon, which is now modern-day Iraq, with Babel. So to claim that Babel, or the land of Shinar, is located in ancient Pergamum in Turkey will be objectionable to them. However, if we examine closely the events that happened before the land of Shinar was found, we can see that Iraq would not have been where the Tower of Babel was built. We are told that the descendants of Noah found the land of Shinar after journeying westward from where they originally settled. Genesis 11 verses 1 to 2. There was a time when the entire earth spoke a common language with an identical vocabulary. As people migrated westward, they came across a plain in the region of Shinar and settled there. Now where was the original settlement of the descendants of Noah? We are told that Noah's ark settled on the mountains of Ararat. Genesis chapter 8 verses 1 and 4. But God remembered Noah and all the wild animals and the livestock that were with him in the ark. And he sent a wind over the earth, and the waters receded. And on the 17th day of the seventh month, the ark came to rest on the mountains of Ararat. Most historians and Bible scholars agree that Ararat is the Hebrew name of Urartu, the geographic predecessor of Armenia, and referred to the wider region at the time and not the mountain today known as Ararat. Nevertheless, Mount Ararat is considered the traditional site of the resting place of Noah's Ark, and most Christians prefer this view largely because it would have been the first peak to emerge from the receding flood waters. Interestingly, Mount Ararat has two peaks, known as Little Ararat and Greater Ararat, which is probably why the Bible referred to them as the mountains of Ararat. If we now look at a map showing both the locations of Mount Ararat and ancient Babylon, we can clearly see that the journey starting from Mount Ararat towards ancient Babylon in Iraq is moving southward. In contrast, a journey starting from Mount Ararat towards ancient Bergamum is clearly a westward one, just like what the Bible described. Also, we can see from the map why the travelers decided to stop and settle in Bergamum. They encountered the Aegean Sea, which was most likely the very first body of water that they saw in their entire trip. Seeing this seemingly endless body of water, they may have thought at the time that they already reached the very ends of the earth. A westward journey is also the most logical direction which these ancient travelers could have taken, as they were presumably following the motion of the sun as it rises from the east and settled on the west. There is no known link between Nimrod and Babylon, or modern-day Iraq. In contrast, Nimrod has been linked to Turkey through the following archaeological and historical reasons. The city of Pergamum belonged to a region called Mysia, and the Mysians, according to the Paschal Chronicle, a 7th century Greek Christian chronicle of the world, are said to be descended from Nimrod, the Greek form of Nimrod. The exact words are Nimrod, the huntsman and giant, from whence came the Mysians. There is a volcano named after Nimrod called Nemrut in East Turkey, and another mountain also called Nemrut located in southeastern Turkey. It is my conclusion, therefore, that Bergamum is one and the same as Babel, where the infamous Tower of Nimrod was built. According to Genesis chapter 10 verses 8 to 10, Babel was the beginning of Nimrod's kingdom. And according to Revelation chapter 2 verses 12 to 13, Pergamum is where Satan's throne is located. This means that both Nimrod and Satan has chosen the same place, namely Pergamum or Babel, as the capital of their earthly rule. It is unavoidable to conclude then that Nimrod is the wild beast mentioned in Revelation, whose deadly head wound will be healed, and to whom Satan will be giving his power and his throne and great authority. Revelation chapter 13 verses 1 to 3. And the dragon stood on the sand of the seashore. Then I saw a beast coming up out of the sea. And the dragon gave him his power and his throne and great authority. I saw one of his heads, as if it had been slain, and his fatal wound was healed. And the whole earth was amazed and followed after the beast. There are several traditions that point to Nimrod's death through beheading. Also, note that the mention of the sand of the seashore where the dragon stood is an obvious reference to the seashore of the Aegean Sea, and more specifically the Middle East Strait, which is due west of Pergamum. Now why would Nimrod rise from the Aegean Sea? Does that mean that he was buried underneath this sea? It is quite possible that Nimrod's burial place sank underneath the Aegean Sea after he was buried. A violent volcanic eruption could have caused the sinking of Nimrod's burial place. Just west of Bergamum is the island of Lesbos. It is separated from Turkey by the narrow Mytilene Strait, and in late Paleolithic Mesolithic times was joined to the Turkish mainland before the end of the last glacial period. The island is forested and mountainous with two large peaks, Mount Lepetinus at 968 meters or 3,176 feet, and Mount Olympus at 967 meters or 3,173 feet. The island's volcanic origin is manifested in several hot springs, the two gulfs, as well as the presence of the Ordimnos volcano. This volcano could have been the one that caused the sinking and separation of the island of Lesbos from the Turkish mainland, or more specifically from Pergamum. The island of Lesbos as well as Pergamum, which literally means height or elevation, are both very mountainous, and one cannot find there a sufficiently large plain or a wide level valley between mountains that is ideal to build a capital city for Nimrod. And yet the Bible specifically said that the builders of the Tower of Babel found a plain in that region. Genesis chapter 11 verses 1 to 2. There was a time when the entire earth spoke a common language with an identical vocabulary. As people migrated westward, they came across a plain in the region of Shinar and settled there. However, if one is to plot the seabed covered by the Mytilene Strait, which is barely below sea level, and which is located between the sandy beaches of Pergamum and Lesbos, one immediately sees the plain of Shinar, which inspired Nimrod and his companions to build Babel, their kingdom. Lesbos contains one of the few known petrified forests in the world. Fossilized plants have been found in many localities on the western part of the island. The fossilized forest formed during the late Oligocene to lower Middle Miocene by the intense volcanic activity in the area. Also, the island's volcanic origin is manifested in several hot springs and two principal volcanic harbors. The Bible tells us that Nimrod and his companions found large quantity of bitumen or tar in the plain of Shinar, which they used to build their city and a large tower with its top in the heavens. Genesis chapter 11 verses 1 to 4. Now the whole earth had one language and few words, and as men migrated from the east, they found a plain in the land of Shinar and settled there. And they said to one another, Come, let us make bricks and burn them thoroughly. And they had brick for stone and bitumen for mortar. Then they said, Come, let us build ourselves a city and a tower with its top in the heavens. And let us make a name for ourselves, lest we be scattered abroad upon the face of the whole earth. Bitumen is a black, oily, viscous material that is a naturally occurring organic byproduct of decomposed organic materials. Also known as asphalt or tar, bitumen was mixed with other materials throughout prehistory and throughout the world for use as a sealant, adhesive, and mortar. Some geologists theorize that the decomposition of organic materials to produce bitumen and other petroleum products can be hastened by volcanic activity. They came to this conclusion after observing radial pattern of bitumen dikes around volcanoes. These bitumen dikes were also found to be thicker as they come closer to the volcanoes, thus further strengthening their theory. Also, there are certain volcanoes called asphalt volcanoes, mostly present on ocean floor vents that erupt asphalt instead of lava. The presence of a volcanic crater inside the island of Lesbos makes the availability of bitumen in this area quite possible. The two volcanic harbors may have even served as pits that collected all the bitumen during a time when the elevation of Lesbos was much higher and the two harbors were above sea level. It is interesting to note that the Ypsilon Monastery was built in the year 1101 on top of a hill facing this huge crater. Could the crater of the Ordimnos volcano be the throne of Satan? Could this be the spot where they erected the Tower of Babel, whose top reaches the heavens? The Bible tells us that a temple for wickedness will be built in the land of Shinar in the last days. Zechariah chapter 5 verses 5 to 11. Then the angel who was speaking with me went out and said to me, Lift up now your eyes and see what this is going forth. I said, What is it? And he said, This is the ephah going forth. Again he said, This is their appearance in all the land, and behold, a lead cover was lifted up, and this is a woman sitting inside the ephah. Then he said, This is wickedness. And he threw her down into the middle of the ephah, and cast the lead weight on its opening. Then I lifted up my eyes and looked, and there 2 women were coming out with the wind in their wings, and they had wings like the wings of a stork, and they lifted up the ephah between the earth and the heavens. I said to the angel who was speaking with me, Where are they taking the ephah? Then he said to me, To build a temple for her in the land of Shinar, and when it is prepared, she will be set there on her own pedestal. Pergamum is famous for its great temple and altar, which features friezes of Zeus and Athena, among many other Greek gods and goddesses. This temple is a monumental construction built during the reign of Greek king Eumenes II in the first half of the 2nd century BC, on one of the terraces of Pergamum. Who is this woman named Wickedness, for whom a temple in Shinar will be built in the last days? I believe she will be Semiramis, the legendary wife of Nimrod. A famous 16th century French seer named Nostradamus predicted the resurrection of Nimrod, whom he called the terror of mankind, with the following prophetic verses. Century 2, Quatrain 13. One who the infernal gods of Hannibal will cause to resurrect, terror of mankind. Never more horror nor worse of days in the past than will come to the Romans through Babel. Nostradamus knows that Babel was the beginning of Nimrod's kingdom. So without a doubt, Nostradamus has Nimrod in mind when he wrote this prophecy which I just quoted. In one of my previous videos titled Cain's Curse and His 7 Reincarnations as the Antichrist, I mentioned how Nimrod was Cain's first reincarnation after being cursed by God for committing suicide. Genesis chapter 4 verses 10 to 15. The Lord said, What have you done? Listen, your brother's blood cries out to me from the ground. Now you are under a curse and driven from the ground, which opened its mouth to receive your brother's blood from your hand. When you work the ground, it will no longer yield its crops for you. You will be a restless wanderer on the earth. Cain said to the Lord, "My punishment is more than I can bear. Today you are driving me from the land, and I will be hidden from your presence. I will be a restless wanderer on the earth, and whoever finds me will kill me." But the Lord said to him, "Not so. Anyone who kills Cain will suffer vengeance 7 times over." Then the Lord put a mark on Cain so that no one who found him would kill him. To suffer vengeance 7 times over for killing Cain literally means to suffer the death penalty for murder 7 times over. Now, how is this even possible if you get to live only once? Also, if the mark which the Lord put on Cain prevented anyone from killing Cain, what is the point of imposing this 7 times over vengeance for killing Cain in the first place? Now, while the mark prevented anyone seeing it from killing Cain, notice, however, that this mark is not visible to Cain himself, assuming, of course, that the mark was placed on Cain's forehead. And if this is the case, then this mark does not prevent Cain from killing himself, or in other words, committing suicide. Cain showed his suicidal tendencies when he made it clear to God that his punishment is more than he can bear. So the 7 times over vengeance which God mentioned to Cain was actually a veiled threat by God meant only for him so that he will not try to escape the punishment imposed on him by committing suicide. But for Cain to suffer death 7 times over for committing suicide, Cain has to be reincarnated 7 times as well, right? And this is the reason why I believe Cain reincarnated 7 times as the Antichrist king, or the 7-headed scarlet beast of Revelation. Revelation chapter 17 verse 3 and 9 to 11. Then the angel carried me away in the spirit into a wilderness. There I saw a woman sitting on a scarlet beast that was covered with flashing snakes and had 7 heads and 10 horns. This calls for a mind with wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 hills on which the woman sits. They are also 7 kings. 5 have fallen, 1 is, the other has not yet come. But when he does come, he must remain for only a little while. The beast who once was, and now is not, is an 8th king. He belongs to the 7 and is going to his destruction. According to the angel's interpretation, the 7 heads of the beast mean 7 kings who are all connected to a common body. This suggests to me that these 7 kings are really 7 reincarnations of one and the same person, namely Cain, who is the common body of this scarlet beast, and who is also its 8th king. When Nimrod is resurrected in the future by Satan, he will take with him the memories and personalities of the other 6 reincarnations of Cain, as well as that of Cain himself. This makes the coming Antichrist 8 times more evil, vengeful, and cunning than Cain or any of his 7 reincarnations throughout history. Who were the 7 reincarnations of Cain, all of whom became powerful kings in the past? Find out in my next vlog.